All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're basically stepping into a virtual courtroom to examine a pretty fierce public feud that's blown up inside the UK's online Patriot community. We're going to break down the arguments, the evidence, and really, the court disagreements between two big names on YouTube, Paul Thorpe and DinoBane. And this quote, this is right at the heart of it all. This is the moment that takes this from just a disagreement to what one side is calling a massive crash out. You know, this single line from DinoBane really captures just how intense this whole thing has gotten. It's a huge accusation, so let's open up the case file and see what's going on. So on one side, you've got Paul Thorpe, who's been a commentator in these circles for a long time, and on the other, you have DinoBane, a newer voice, but just as loud. They're both operating in the same online space, both talking about what they believe is the future of Britain, but wow, their methods and their messages have put them on a collision course. Okay, so first we're going to look at the case being made by Paul Thorpe. He's laid out a whole series of accusations against his critics, and that includes DinoBane, painting them as people who are just trying to stir up trouble in the movement. Let's dig into the specific charges. So, this is basically the prosecution's entire argument. Thorpe is saying his critics aren't actually genuine patriots. Instead, he believes they're just in it for the money and the online drama. He claims they're splitting the movement, going after easy targets instead of who he calls the real enemy, making up extreme positions to attack people with. And, this is a big one, that they don't even have the moral high ground to be in the conversation in the first place. And here we have one of the main pillars of Thorpe's argument. He suggests that your stake in the country's future is really measured by whether or not you have kids and grandkids. So from his point of view, any critic who doesn't fit that description is basically unqualified to talk about the nation's future. And as you can see, he makes that point pretty forcefully. Thorpe's next big charge is about what he calls misdirected fire. His argument is that his critics are taking the easy way out, attacking allies like him for clicks and subscribers, instead of going after what he sees as the real threats to the country. This isn't just a simple critique, he's making a point about focus, about strategy, and even about courage. So, what does the defence have to say about all this? Well, DinoBane and his supporters don't just deny these charges, they actually come back with a detailed point-by-point rebuttal for every single claim Thorpe makes. Let's see how they built their case. A really crucial part of the defence's argument hinges on this one idea, projection. DinoBane is basically arguing that Thorpe is accusing other people of the exact things he's guilty of himself, especially when you start talking about why someone's making videos in the first place. And to back up this claim of projection, the defence points to Thorpe's own history. Specifically, DinoBane brings up a time when Thorpe was allegedly promoting NFTs. The suggestion here is that Thorpe himself has used his platform for financial reasons, which in their view totally undermines his argument that everyone else is the one motivated by money. The defence also hits back hard on the idea that they only attack easy targets. While Thorpe claims his critics shy away from the tough topics, DinoBane says his own channel is constantly tackling what he considers the real hard targets, subjects like Zionism, the movement for a Jewish homeland, or Islamification, this idea of society shifting towards Islamic principles. These are topics he believes other people in their circles tend to avoid. And then you have Thorpe's claim about drama. He's essentially saying his critics are just stirring the pot for attention. This accusation really sets the stage for what DinoBane calls the most dramatic and dishonest move of the entire feud. Which brings us to Exhibit A in our little courtroom examination, a direct challenge that Paul Thorpe threw down. DinoBane sees this not as a genuine offer, but as the nastiest, slimiest, most dishonest tactic he's ever seen. So here's the challenge, plain and simple. Thorpe says he'll turn off all the ads and monetization on his YouTube channel for 6 months, but only if his critic does the exact same thing. On the surface, it looks like a way to prove who's really in it for the cause and who's just in it for the cash. But the defence shot it down immediately. DinoBane lays out 4 key reasons for saying no. First, he calls it a public stunt, just designed to make Thorpe look good and score moral points. Second, he argues it doesn't prove anything about who's actually telling the truth. Third, he sees it as Thorpe asking him to basically commit financial suicide just for entertainment. And finally, he says it's just a big distraction from the real arguments they were having. So, now that we've heard the charges and the rebuttals, what is this old feud really about? Well, when you look at the closing arguments from both sides, it's pretty clear this isn't just some personal beef, it's a fundamental clash of ideas and strategies about the future of their entire movement. When you boil it all down, this conflict is really about 2 completely different strategies. Thorpe's pushing for a more pragmatic approach, one that's aimed at winning over Middle England, you know, that large group of moderate middle-class voters who can swing elections. For him, that means you have to avoid what he sees as extreme language. But DinoBane's strategy is the opposite. Appeal to the huge number of people who don't even vote, and do it with a clear, uncompromising vision and a no-surrender mentality. And this quote pretty much sums up Thorpe's worldview. He sees the more hardline talk as a total fantasy. He believes the only realistic way to win is by appealing to the political centre. To him, anything else is just shooting yourself in the foot, a failure to understand how the real world works. And here's the counter-argument. DinoBane sees Thorpe's pragmatism as just giving up, as defeatism. For him, this fight is about principle, it's about identity, it's about refusing to surrender, even if other people think the battle's already over. It's a really personal and ideological position to take. So, at the end of the day, if you strip away all the accusations about money and drama and projection, this is what's left. It's a fundamental disagreement inside a political movement about the right way forward. Should you try to win through moderation and mass appeal, or is the answer uncompromising principles and getting the disengaged on your side? And that leaves us with one last really crucial question. This old case reveals fractures that go way beyond just 2 YouTubers. They touch on tensions in a much bigger movement, and it forces us to ask, in any political cause, where do you draw the line between a healthy principled debate and a self-inflicted wound that just tears everything apart? It's definitely worth thinking about. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Thanks for your support, and welcome to the Daily Bollocks.